In segment 2, Chief Dunne discusses the Fire Department of New York's size-up process. Chief Dunne discussed the storied fire service acronym Coal was Wealth that still holds up in modern-day firefighting. This acronym was listed in the bibliography of the DoD Fire and Emergency Services Certification Program, Fire Officer 2 and Fire Officer 3, for over 20 years and can be a reminder of tactical benchmarks in the Incident Commander's mental toolbox. This tactical acronym is still published in Fire Engineering's Fire Grant Strategies, as well as William E. Clark's Firefighting Principles and Practices, which can be found in our department's training library. Chief Dunne discussed how the acronym Coal was Wealth could be included in the first arriving incident commander's size-up to enhance operations for everyone on the fire ground, from the probationary firefighter at their first fire up into including the highest-ranking chief. Just like Lloyd Landman's Tactical Priorities mnemonic, RECIO, Coal was Wealth can be conducted in any order and was developed to assist managing an incident. As he prepared to speak on Coal was Wealth, Chief Dunne discussed the importance of paying attention to the fire ground and things going on around you. He cautioned that checklists can be overwhelming and can hinder the incident commander's focus on the incident. Breaking down the first section of the acronym, Chief Dunne detailed coal, construction. Sizing up construction types is vitally important as they all react differently when impacted by fire, and it dictates our actions. Types of construction are fire resistive, non-combustible, ordinary, heavy timber, and wood frame. Some building construction types contain voids that may allow for fire extension. Alterations to these buildings may produce larger voids that may spread fire vertically as well as horizontally. Wood laminate I-beams, energy-efficient windows, and many other types of building features can affect the outcome of the operation and may become a concern when conducting an aggressive interior attack. Occupancy. Identifying occupancy may assist in determining the severity of the hazard and intensity of the fire. For example, in a mixed occupancy containing commercial areas below and residential areas above, an increased fire load in the commercial occupancy on the first floor will increase the danger during a fire for residents living in the floors above. Area. Larger areas or compartments within structures may produce larger, more intense fires. The size of the fire will indicate the proper selection of attack lines, and the reach of the stream will dictate how far you'll need to stretch those lines and affect your nozzle selection. Primary searches in large areas will require the use of multiple crews, multiple entrances, and thermal imaging cameras. Location and extent of the fire. The location of the fire within the structure will dictate the firefighter's plan of attack and actions within the structure. Examples would be a cellar or basement fire, a cockloft or open void space fire, or a fire on multiple floors. Standard operating procedures for individual departments should be followed on these types of fires to provide coverage in all areas of the building concerning primary search, fire attack, and ventilation. Breaking down the middle or center segment of the acronym, Chief Dunne detailed WAS, water supply. The first arriving apparatus or chief must consider the availability of a positive water supply, whether it be a hydrant system, a cistern tank, or water tankers. Chief Dunne is quick to note that a charged hose line with aggressive firefighters has put out more fires than Halligan tools and pike poles. Apparatus and equipment. What apparatus are on scene or still responding? Engine companies, aerial or ladder companies, or combination apparatus such as quints. It's imperative to know who has arrived and who is still responding, as well as the type of apparatus that are responding. An aerial ladder may be needed for a rescue or an exterior stream to facilitate rescues. Street conditions. Incident location, placement of apparatus, as well as the location of hydrants will be dictated by street conditions. Snow, water conditions, and utility poles may affect proper placement of apparatus. Aerial and ladder companies may be hindered for rescue of trapped victims. Engine companies will have to have a clear route to access a fire hydrant to provide a positive water source. Engine companies must also be careful not to block out incoming apparatus that may be needed in the front of the building. Officers as well as apparatus driver operators must communicate to ensure all units attain their desired position. Breaking down the end segment of the acronym, Chief Dunne detailed weather. Freezing conditions, snow accumulation, and hot and humid temperatures must be considered in size up. Snow accumulations may hinder proper ladder apparatus placement for rescues and access. Frozen hydrants and delayed water supply must be addressed, and alternate methods of securing a water supply must be accomplished. Ice and hose lines may produce insufficient pressures or cut off water supply to an engine company, making an aggressive push. Heat conditions also become a factor in size up, so you must monitor firefighters for heat exhaustion and provide frequent relief of members. Exposures. Exposure can be many different things at a fire. Fire extension often threatens adjoining structures, but it can also extend within the building itself in the form of auto exposure. Fire can extend from floor to floor via windows to upper floors, and up and across shafts, exposed compartments within or adjoining the building. You must always anticipate fire extension, and your size up must include this factor. Exposures may not necessarily involve structures. It can also involve vehicles or storage tanks, which must also be a factor in size up. Imagine a commercial structure exposing a very large propane storage tank with occupied dwellings affected, and then imagine the consequences. Auxiliary appliances. Auxiliary appliances include standpipe and sprinkler systems in certain types of occupancies. During size up, you must consider the location of fire department Siamese connections for sprinkler systems and standpipe systems and their relation to apparatus positioning so you can establish a water supply. Is it possible for an engine company to establish a positive water source and supply the system? This may provide containment of the fire and prevent the incident from escalating. Life safety. This is the most serious factor in any fire incident, but Chief Dunne points out it wasn't number one in coal was wealth. He mentions that your size up can be conducted in any order, but most likely it will be dictated by the scenario you're confronted with. No matter how you perform your size up, always remember the life hazard is your number one priority. What is the location of the life hazard in relation to the fire? Is it a known or suspected life hazard? Will firefighters have to search above the fire with or without protection of a charged hose line? These are questions that will spur a lot of conversation and should be used for discussion during formal and informal company drill periods. Life safety strategies must be considered for all operations when conducting size up. Time. The incident commander must consider the time of day when calculating the life hazard our number one priority. Occupied structures will involve a greater life hazard at night as opposed to daylight hours. As a result, units that must perform life-saving operations may not be able to cover their required areas of responsibility or assignment completely. Incident commanders should always be cognizant of this and anticipate requesting additional units to cover those areas. Height. Building height will dictate the type of apparatus needed for rescue, access, and egress. Always consider all the options available to you. For rescue, the position in front of the building may have to be occupied by an aerial or ladder truck if the building is rather tall. Aerial ladders may be needed to remove a victim, transport a firefighter to his or her assigned position, or to stretch additional hose lines. Consider positioning tower or aerial ladders in front of the fire building if you think an exterior stream is needed. Repositioning apparatus is time-consuming and may result in the loss of the structure if there's a delay in getting an exterior stream into operation. Chief Dunne emphasized that coal was wealth is a valuable tool when deciding on strategy and tactics. He wanted everyone to remember that size up starts with the receipt of the alarm and continues until the incident is under control. Next is segment 3, which covers 5 essential factors for incident commanders, factors that affect the incident commander, tips for fire service leaders, and Chief Dunne's fail-forward model.